The North American region as a whole has been in trouble in Counter-Strike Global Offensive for a while now. There's been no major playoffs appearance by a North American team since ESL won Cologne in August of 2014. So there have been four majors have happened since then, and since that period of time, there have only been four notable finals finishes in international competitions in Europe by North American teams. One by iBuyPirate Face at Season 2, and then three by Cloud9 in the summer of this year. There was ESL ESEA Pro League Season 1, there was ESWC, and there was the Face It Stage 2 finals. And yet, NA has the talent to have a team that could win a major, to have a team that can be going deep in majors, making semi-finals most of the time, to have teams that are capable of winning a couple of events like a Na'Vi, of making deep runs, of taking big series off the elite level teams. But it's not been happening for the past 6 months, 8 months. It just hasn't happened after that Cloud9 spell. And yet, like I say, they have the talent. So for the purpose of just an interesting prospect, I thought I would try and put together my North American super team. And the premise is it has to be all NA, so we can't count Luminosity and then start taking players from them. We can't count European players who in real life are available for North American teams, but I would have to mix the regions to do so. I'm going to try and show that the talent is there in North America by making an all NA lineup that I think legitimately would be the best that's possible of the players in the region, but also could have significant international success. We're talking about go deep in a major, make the semis. Hey, if you look at what Na'Vi was able to do with the right lineup, make a final even, maybe even make a final. Admittedly, it's usually very hard to make finals, but we've seen teams like the NIP team with Alu, like the Na'Vi team with when NIP had upset TSM for them, that can make a finals run if they get the right bracket or they have the right day. So I think this team, it would be capable of that. The problem is in NA, as a precursor, the reason why it hasn't happened is because NA is too much about ego. It's too much about the contracts that now have crazy buyouts, or people don't want to leave players that they've played with for a long time. It's too much about there's too much imbalance in all the NA teams. Like, I look at all the top 3 NA teams of the last 6 months. Cloud9 had too many passive players. They had almost no players who were aggressive and willing to entry properly, and as a result, and except for early on when Shongas were able to anti-strap people, they had their troubles. Team Liquid didn't have enough clutch players. It basically all came down to Hiko clutching. If it wasn't for that, then against the top level international teams, they had to have Elysian Nitro go crazy on the entry fragging, otherwise they're not going to win the rounds. Fogly, in his new position, sometimes having to play more of a lurk style, wasn't very effective, where he'd been one of the impact players before. Adren was obviously terrible, yet was in lurking positions as well, and it all just came down to Hiko winning the clutch on. So TL didn't have the clutch players to do it, and then the experience of the other players meant they weren't there either. And then for CLG, they just lacked the firepower. I mean, you look at the lineup of CLG and you go, hey, this should be all right. But that's because you see the names, and I've noticed this problem happens in esports. You see a name and you think of the best of that name, what it was at its greatest, and you think, oh, that should be a really good team. The problem with CLG is JDM got to quite a good level. He got consistent towards sort of September, October time of year. He was pretty good. His AWPing was good. He was a top-level AWPer. But that was it. That was the one consistent firepower you had in the team. Tarek, notably inconsistent, notably poor at the majors except for one map. FNS got more frags when he moved to the lurking role, but was still just an okay player there. Cutler, to give up his lurking role and become the in-game leader, not only gave up his role, but gave up all of his strength as a star player. He was one of the best players in that team. In fact, before JDM came along, he was the best player in that team. He was the consistent one, he was the lurker, he was the very passive player, but he's really good at that role, and he wasn't vaguely like that once he was the in-game leader. And then in terms of Hazed, he's always been just the guy who's just thrown in the mix. He's just on the team. He's not a great player, he's not a dog shit player, just okay. So there was a lack of firepower on CLG. So you can see the imbalance across all the top teams here. But if you get the right players together, I think it is possible. So first and foremost, when I make this team, I'm going to pick players that I think all work and all can be the best in their roles, but also would work together. I'm going to add those two components, not just an all-star team, it's an actual super team. So first player I'm going to go with, my first pick is going to be Hiko, now from Team Liquid. So why is Hiko my first pick? Because there's more skilled players on this list, there's better players on this list. Because first and foremost, nobody can do what Hiko can do in terms of being a consistent, experienced, driven clutch player. Those 4 qualities, no one can match all of that in terms of being my lurker, my clutch player. Hiko's got the best qualities in that respect. He's nowhere near his prime at the moment. He's still a good player, but he hasn't got to the cost of the prime. Maybe he never will be again. But for that particular role, he's still the best in NA. He's still got all these good qualities going for him. He still is very clutch. The experience is clearly there, and also the drive. That's part of why you've seen Team Liquid improving players, and probably will improve as they go on, because he's driven to want to win. That's why he left Cloud9 in the first place, where he could have had a team comparable to the one they had this summer, where they had good results and they had Skadoodle and people like that later on in history. But he wanted to go for broke and try and make a great team. So Hiko's my first pick. That's the backbone of the team. Second pick is going to be Skadoodle from Cloud9, because he's calm. He's a player who doesn't seem to get flustered. I'm still not quite sure why he doesn't perform in the majors. He's just okay there. He's never been at his superstar level that he has been in other tournaments at those majors. So that's a concern, but I'd really have to go through every game with a fine-tooth comb to find out what I think his problems there are. But all the other tournaments, very calm player, good under pressure, consistent as a result. Consistently will take certain spots. He always hits certain shots. He's very good at hitting those 7 or 8 out of 10 shots almost all the time. He'll hold certain angles in a way that makes sense each time. And because he's so consistent, it doesn't matter if the enemy knows he's there and peeks onto him. He's going to have the right positions for his style. And he's very dedicated as well. He seems like a guy who doesn't talk shit. He just plays, he practices, he keeps his skills up. So they're all great qualities to have in my AWPer. And he's a world-class AWPer. So those 2 for me are obvious picks. Now, the next pick I'm going to go with is Nitro from Team Liquid. Now, if I want Nitro, I want him playing exactly the role he has in Team Liquid now. I want him as the second entry man, because he can be a little bit erratic, but his game is very powerful. And when he has an entry man that he works well with, it unlocks him to be the best NA player at the moment. He's the most skilled, the best NA player right now in terms of what he can do against international competitions, as you saw against Fnatic in that cash game at the ESL ESEA Pro League Season 2 finals. Also, he's got a chilled out personality, but I've noticed over the year, as he started to build confidence, which is not some bullshit of like mentality, but as a result of the things he's done, the matches he's had against Europeans, the improvements he's made and the improvements his team's made, I've noticed he has started to get that little edge where he now knows that I have to perform here, I have to be a star, I have to output what I can. And what's great is, as I said in my video, I think it was at the end of last year, he shouldn't give up that he got kicked from the IBR team, and you've seen now he hasn't, and now he's in position and it's worked. He's the best player in NA. So I think he's a really good one, but here's the thing, for this player and the others onwards, there's options, okay? So the first 2, I don't think there's much debate there for the reasons I've given. But for Nitro, okay, there are other options of ways we could go here. Nitro's my pick, but 2 others that you could pick to do this second entry role. One is Shroud from Cloud9. He has extremely good aim. If you watch him play FPL or you watch him play online NA games, he's incredible. He really has some of the most crazy skills I've seen. The problem is his mentality doesn't seem to be there to do that in big games against Europeans consistently. He doesn't do it anywhere close to the consistency of players who are playing his sort of role or supposedly his skill level in Europe. Doesn't have that kind of star power consistency. He did it occasionally. And also, he's a very passive player. So even though he does the second entry role, he's not as aggressive as a Nitro. He's second entry to trade for those kills and then still look for positive scenarios. So I think if you put him in a team, you need more aggressive players elsewhere. Maybe even the AWPer has to be more aggressive. So there's too many contingencies I need to make it so that Shroud can be the right player for me in this scenario. Still a good pick, but I would go with Nitro right now for that particular role. I think he does the role better, and actually I think with other players around him, a better team around him, Nitro could be even better, whereas we've seen Shroud essentially maxed out, capped out right now for what he can do because he had the right team around him. He had Freakazoid going in first, he had the right in-game leader to set him up, he had the right AWPer, he had all these great tools around him. The other player who I'll add as a possible option is Taric. Because here's the thing, Taric never plays this role. He doesn't play this role. He doesn't want to play this role. He doesn't conceive of himself as this sort of player. He wants to be a lurker. He wants to be a secondary AWPer. He wants to do all these things that, to me, Taric, by the way, from CLG, don't make sense to me for him as a player. He should be doing this role. If you put him in this role and he got his mentality right, that this is the role I'm going to embrace, and I'm going to go in after this guy and we're going to just frag it up in the site, and we're going to open the sites up, we're going to cause havoc with the enemy team, then he could be a much better player than he is. And he could be a player who was a star in the world, and not just for an NA player, for in the whole world. He could be one day, if this sort of team was around him and did this role, if he embraced it, he could potentially be a top 10 player in the world. He's not going to be right now. He doesn't have vaguely that impact. And since his mentality is not to do that, I'm not going to take him for this role. The difference is everyone else on this list would do these roles that I'm giving to them. So we've got Hiko, Skadoodle, Nitro. Fourth player, I'm going to go with Roka from Cole. complexity. Formerly of Elevate earlier in the year. Now, he's going to be my entry man. Here's the thing. In terms of entry skills, I think he's a really great candidate for this. Seems like a confident guy. Seems like a guy who'll run in there and take those aim duels. Has great first bullet on a bunch of his guns that help him out in this particular sense. The downside is, skills are all there. He's got a little bit of experience, maybe lacks a bit still. Biggest problem for me, obviously he hasn't proved it against top Europeans yet in enough tournaments, and there seems to be some sort of personality issue. Now in his case, it doesn't feel like a personality issue like he's toxic, he flames or whatever, or he doesn't talk or whatever. The big issue with him, I'd associate him, or in my mind, I kind of categorize him along with anger. When I said that anger is a weirdo, okay, what I meant by that is there's just something a bit off about his personality. For some reason, many of his ex-teammates just didn't vibe with it. Like, they don't dislike him. They don't dislike him as a player. I don't think he was a bad player. Although in Anger's case, he had some issues choking on land, European lands. But there's just something wasn't quite on. And so as a result, when it came to shove, they would tend to go with someone else over him. So that seems to be the case with Roka. That's why I feel like he hasn't got those real opportunities in the elite level teams that he should have done. Because, okay, someone like Cloud9 had an entry fragger, but while Elige was struggling, someone like Roka was right there, and you could have gone to him and you could have immediately had a proper entry in place. So to me, he would be a great pick, but still a little bit of experience, maybe some personality issues, but I'm imagining in the super team, I have the coaching staff to fix these things and to have a pro attitude. And I'd be like, guys, we're trying to win a major here. Fuck like minor things of personality. Let's see if we can work through it. If we can, then we're going to go with the right team. Then you've got the factor that what other options do we have for this role? Okay, so the first person I'm going to list is going to be Elige. Now, the reason I'm going to list Elige first from Team Liquid is because we've already seen what he does with Nitro, and he really helps to open up Nitro's game and put Nitro in the position that Shroud was in with Freakazoid previously in Cloud9. So as a result, you get Nitro fully enabled when he's going. Now, the problem for Elige is at the moment, he still has a difficulty doing that very often against the top level European teams. I don't care about against North American teams. I don't give a fuck. But against the top European teams at a big European LAN, he does it like 1 out of 3 games, 2 out of 4 games. He's having a difficulty doing it more often though, and you need that to happen to unlock Nitro entirely. So he's an option because he would synergize well with Nitro. If I had to not pick Roka though, the person I might pick actually is Freakazoid. Because Elige lacks a bit of experience, bit of form. He also doesn't really have that fire in his personality at the moment. I think to be an entry fragger, you have to have a confidence, not that you will definitely get the kill and all that. I think all that jazz is just stuff that players say and it's in their mind and that they're trying to convince themselves of it. I mean a bit of fire, as in like the determination that no matter what, you're going to take these aim duels. It doesn't matter if you lost those last few, if you've lost the last few rounds, if your team's got less money, less equipment, you're going to take those aim duels because you know you have to be the guy who's the battering ram to get in the site, to open it up for your star players like your Nitros, like your Shrouds of the world, to then be able to do work and start winning against these top European teams. I think he lacks a little bit of that fire and mentality still. Now, the reason why Freakazoid's a good second pick is because Freakazoid from Cloud9, by the way, is because he has a good attitude. He seems to be a guy who he does have that commitment to entry fragging. I think he has a little bit less skill than the people I'm talking about here, Roka and Elige, especially in terms of first bullet accuracy. And first bullets accuracy will really help you from an entry frag. You see with people like Apex, it means that you can not just open the site by getting the win in the aim duel, but you can get those crazy scenarios where you kill the 2 people with 1 bullet headshots, and now the site's completely open. You get a crazy gamble scenario. I think he doesn't have that going for him, but he has the dedication to do it. He'll listen to his team leader, which is quite different to some of these guys. Some of them will in certain circumstances, but then they'll think better of it and second guess themselves. He'll run through a wall if his leader tells him to. It's a great attitude. The downside I see with Freakazoid is that I feel like a lot of where Cloud9 rested on their laurels and thought they were still really good and they were having issues, in an indirect way stems back to him, because I noticed he brought a lot of swagger to the team. He brought this mentality of like it's us against them, and that has positives. It will bond the group. It will mean when things are going well, you do have this great belief that you can all do it. Downside is when things are going badly, that us against them mentality can lead you to be overly defensive or in denial of the problems and be like, they're just hating on us, man. This is bullshit, bro. Like, we're still good. Like, oh, I'd like to see this person talk shit. Like, that's the only downside I see. Now, I don't think this would be a problem in this team. Obviously, I'm not going to pick him because I'm taking Roka, but I think that we could get past all those issues and the positives would outweigh the negatives. And with so much skill in this line, I don't need him to be the craziest fragger. He can do his job and it would be good enough. Now, for my 5th player, the last, I need my in-game leader, right? Because I've got my Lurker, got my AWPer, got my entry, I've got my second entry, and now I need my in-game leader who's going to play a second Lurk role. So I'm going to go for or support role, whichever you want to call it. So I'm going to go with Kotler for this from CLG. Now, first and foremost, He's shown he can be an in-game leader and be decent. Not really good as an in-game leader, not really good as a fragger, but decent at both in CLG when he swapped that role from FNS to himself. It also, here's what's more important, gives me an option where if I ever need to change players and I want him to go to the lurking role, I know he can be fantastic at that, and he could be rival Hiko and be the best at that role. So I've always got an option to rotate him over as well. And as the in-game leader in this team, and with so much skill, I'm already going to have him in a partial lurk role anyway. I'm not going to have super duper set strats. I'm going to have a set system, but then within it we're going to have a little bit of triggering of how the entry guys work off that anyway, and Hiko's coming at the end to do his own thing clutching anyway. So as a result, he's going to get a bit more room, and I'm going to have him in terms of a hybrid support in-game leader, but more with the lurking aspect that he had in CLG, and hopefully that will work and he'll be better than he was recently in CLG. So I think he would be the ideal pick there. Sean Gers is retired, so I can't pick him, and otherwise I don't see any in-game leader actually from a North American team who is North American who's an obvious pickup who would be better in this scenario, especially because of how I've balanced the teams out. Now you'll notice, referencing the problem I said before, I've picked out 5 players there, yet they represent 4 different teams. The only team that has 2 players is Team Liquid, Hiko and Nitro. We've got Skadoodle from Cloud9, we've got Roka from Complexity, and we've got Cutler from CLG. There's your problem with NA right there. I've tried to build a team not only with people who can each be the best at their role, but a balanced team that would work together, and the players balance each other out, even in terms of like aggressive players, passive players. Player who needs someone to open him up in a certain way, he's got that player. Player who needs the follow-up that's going to be a certain style, he's got that player. Players who are aggressive here, and therefore the clutch players have to be of a special mentality and more experience maybe. We've got that to balance it out. It all works out. The in-game leader doesn't have to be a skill because I've got more skill elsewhere. The balance, this is a holistic team. This is a team where all aspects work. The personnel, the strategy I'm going to employ, and then specific tactics we can build into that. It all follows off each other and would naturally suggest itself. I don't have to get this team and go, oh, what am I going to do with this? What's the identity going to be? How are we going to play? Like very passively? We're going to play aggressively? We're going to play just standard setups? We're going to try Luminosity style of playing very intelligently ahead? We don't have to do any of these things. It all suggests itself. But the fact that these guys are split out in 4 different teams tells you that buyouts, people wanting to play with the same teammates for years, in CLG's case, these are all the issues here. Egos, people don't want to play with Roka, or someone thinks that this guy talked shit to them 2 years ago, so he won't play with that guy. These are more of the issues. You'll also notice in general, the players I've picked out wouldn't have that many personality issues. Like aside from Roka, who again I'm not sure about, a lot of the guys I've picked out are fairly chill guys, but with the confidence to do their job. So Hiko, reasonably chilled, has a little bit of edge to him, but he's not going to get mad as long as things go well. Skadoodle, very chilled out, guy's just going to do his job. Nitro, chilled, but got a little bit of an edge on himself, but he's not going to be trying to take over the team. Cutler, a very relaxed guy, willing to let people do their jobs, and that's the sort of in-game leader I need in this team. Roka, okay, a little bit more spicy, but that's what I want actually. He's my entry guy. So I think that definitely you could make a good NA team. I think this would be a good example. And like I said, I think they could go deep. I think they could win a European tournament. I don't know about a major. It's a bit more to win a major. That's the reason why so few teams have, and so few elite teams make it so far in the majors, even when you're talking about teams like a TSM who've never made a final. So, but it would be possible to win a European tournament. It would be possible to have good runs. This would be a good setup of a team. Now then, if you want to rock a big bag of swag, the secret is not shrouded in mystery. You can play Alpha Draft, where the opportunities to win money are as explosive as Nitro Glycerine under pressure, but you'll have no pressure as you enjoy fantasy esports and potentially win the kind of Skrilla that will allow you to dine out on a fine filet cutlet of lamb. I know Richard isn't here right now, but if he was, then I'm sure he co-sign that. Now Skadoodle along to Alpha Draft, and if you want to find out more on play Fantasy Esports.